Hello, G's, and welcome to one more type of video on Seth Mindcast. Here, I was watching a podcast from Chris Williamson and Alex Harmozi. If you don't know them, you can Google them and find out who they are. But we also had a lesson which says about authenticity. You know what? The key to authenticity. And I want you to know that what Alex Harmozi and Chris Williamson think about authenticity, right? So it's not just me. I learned from them as well. And I really want you to have a look into this deep conversation they go into, because Chris Williamson has a list of quotes in front of him by Alex Hormozi, and he repeats those quotes, and Alex Hormozi kind of takes us to the rabbit hole of what this is all about. So stay tuned and let's get into this right away.
Related to this, people are attracted to authenticity, but it's hard to define for me. Here's my best attempt. True alignment of what you think, what you say, and what you do. The hardest part is realizing that our thoughts are fucked and that we have to fix them instead of faking the next two.
Wholeheartedly agree.
You said it.
Man. Yeah, that's that one.
Well, I've got a really cool idea. Herostratic fame. Many people would rather be hated than unknown. In ancient Greece, Herostratus burned down the temple of Artemis purely so that he would be remembered. Nowadays, we have nuisance influencers who scream themselves committing crimes and harassing people purely for clout. Herostratic fame.
Remember this story. This is one beautiful story. Herostratic fame. What's herostratic fame? The guy, just for the world, he burned down a temple just so that people would remember him. That's what he did. And you see a lot of people doing that with your attention, with your time, the time you give them to watch. There are a lot of people, I don't want to name them, I don't want to start an internet beef now at the very beginning, but you know them. And you know you'll win the world, but you'll lose your soul. That's what Alex says on the in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's like the you gain the world but you lose your soul.
You see that?
Kind of. I mean,
You see that? What does that mean? You'll gain the world, but you lose yourself. You lose your soul. Right? You will die inside yourself because you know that I've done this and you'll have to live with that. That's a worst regret to live to your deathbed. It's nothing now. You have the world now. But when you age, when you come of age and on your deathbed, all this will be in front of you. And he said, I shouldn't have done that. So do you want to leave the world with that regret? I don't think so.
I'm also the last person to judge.
Before saying anything, Alex says, I'm the last person to judge. So it's like, you take it or leave it. But this is my thoughts. So before his thoughts, he says, I'm the last person to judge. Look at the body language.
And so, like, if that's what you want, then by all means.
I don't think it's what people want. I think that they think it's what they want. I've been playing with this idea, or this name. One of the concepts that the book will be focused on, intentionalism.
Mm-hmm.
And Essentialism by Greg McKeown is one of my favorite ever books, and I figured it would be a nice, hat nod. Doing what you mean to do, and wanting what you want to want, is so fucking hard to do, and so rare, because we're built to conform.
I think one of my life goals, and I can summarize it in a question, but is to be fearless. And it's, equal opposite courage is another word. But I love this question, which is, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I love thinking about that when I'm thinking about big life decisions. Like, what would I do if I weren't afraid? And it's usually like...
Okay, so do you know when I'm not afraid comes in to the picture? When you're authentic with yourself. There's nothing you hide from people, you don't lie to people, you don't snake people. When all these things are in you, which makes you authentic, right? That's when you become fearless. And being in fear and doing business, and being fearless in and doing business is two different things. For an example, if somebody tells you that this share is good, you need to invest. You know, the fear mindset is if I invest money, I'll lose money. So if I lose money, I don't want to do it. Done. You know, the fearless part is I leave the money inside. Okay, I will never look at it for a year or two and then see if it's given me money or if I've lost money. But in this time frame, I'm just not looking at the screen and seeing how much profit or loss I've made. I'm looking for other things in my genre and making more money out of the other things I have time for. But I am teaching my money to make money for me. So I'm teaching my money to work for me.
The big one, the bigger thing that I really want to do, but I'm afraid to do it. It's like, that's what I should do. And to your point about the 5 things that you told your team, the one that we have is originally it was something that we called 1 of 1, which is make only things that we can make. Like, you'll never see a Coca-Cola business breakdown from Alex Hormozi because anyone can do a Coca-Cola business breakdown. That's not 1 of 1 content. But if I say I doubled the sales of this company by implementing these 4 things, no one else can say that because no one else did it, right? So it's 1 of 1. And so as the book launch and whatnot came, we took 1 of 1 and it became this big, massive thing. And it stopped being about like what can only do things that only we can do. It was about doing things that we didn't even know we could do yet, which became 1 of 0. And that's why that became the brand that I'm going to continue to wear for the next few years.
So you see what he did? He started experimenting and building bulk ideas. And he said, we're not going to create something which everybody does. We're going to only create things which only we could do. So then the 1 of 1 concept came in and Alex is going to focus more there. That's what he said.
And build that association. But I think that kind of encapsulates my personal life goal, which is like, what would I do if I weren't afraid? And what would I do if I didn't, if I knew I could?
So being not afraid is his goal. What would I do if I'm not afraid? Right?
And fail. And the idea that I will never wish for fewer epic stories at the end of my life. And I've never regretted failures. I've always regretted things that I didn't try. And so just along those lines of trying to create more bias internally towards action rather than inaction, and normalizing consequences of failure as we said earlier, win or learn. And I think that little frame, believe it or not, for anyone who's like on the teetering edge of like, what should I do that thing? When I was debating quitting my job, which is still the hardest decision I've made to this day, still, of the many.
Quitting your job is the hardest decision for Alex Harmozi and everybody else, trust me. Because I know that once you're out looking for a job of any degree you have, even a doctor, right? You will have educational debt. Some people would have that. Some people would have family debt. Some people would have to pay like phone loans, car loans, and all these liabilities you have accumulated from the time you're looking for a job. And then you'll say, I have a job now and it's paying my liabilities. If I quit my job, who's going to do that? So if you want to start a company of your own, you need to have no liabilities. You need to bring your liabilities to 0. That's the easy way you can think of something motivating you to start a business, right? So that it was hard for him, it is hard for us and everybody. So you're not alone.
That I've made was I figured that if I didn't make the entrepreneurship thing work, I would have a hell of a story for business school. And that was actually like the reasoned.
So this is the backup plan. He said, I'll quit my job, I'll start my entrepreneurship journey, but if it doesn't work, then I will have a hell of a story how I went into entrepreneurship. And he really has a hell of a story. Just YouTube and watch the way Alex Harmozi came up. Go to his page, scroll down to 0, the first video he uploaded, and from that to top, you'd understand how this guy has made so much and how did he come here from ground zero.
Argument that I gave myself for being willing to quit was that I think that with my experience I'll still be able to get a job and I'll have a really cool story of entrepreneurship that I could use to apply to get into business school and then eventually get a job later. And so most times we catastrophize any failure to death, right? Which is like, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna lose all my money, I'm gonna be homeless, no one's gonna talk to me, and I'm gonna die, right?
You see, this is the fear of everybody. Everybody does not say something or a direct no, you know, rejection. Nobody does that because in the end they think that they're going to be alone and people would leave them and then they'll die. So this is the fear. This is the fear of the unknown I was talking about. And everybody has that, right?
Right, but like if you play it out two natural steps, like, okay, I lose everything. What do? I would probably have a couch or floor that someone would lend to me. Because at least socially, I haven't fought.
Very well done. He says, what's the worst thing which is going to happen to you if you fail? Right? At least you have your father's or mother's home to stay, and an Uber and Uber Eats to drive, and 1 year of hard work will build you money so that you can start again with a better idea with experience. Amazing.
Fucked everyone I know. And so I have that. It's like, okay, so I would have some capacity to do that. Okay, is there anything that I could do in the meantime in order to make money? Well, sure, I could drive Uber and strip. And I've already, I've told this story before, but for me, that was genuinely my plan B because I knew that I could.
You need to understand this. He was ready to strip. There is no work too small. There is no work too small. You cannot shy out if you're going into entrepreneurship. He would have thought, I'm Alex Harmozi, do I strip? But he said, how do I make this money? And if I do this, I'm going to make this money. That's the plan.
Probably make 70, 80 grand a year driving Uber. I probably make 150 stripping, maybe 200. Strip at the gay bars, the guys pay better. And then, boom, I've got 280,000 a year. I could live on the floor and then I could restart again. And so that's because I don't have a lot of shame with that kind of stuff. That's not like, that doesn't matter to me. But I think playing out the fear, Layla says this and I love it, but that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so it looks like this ocean that you're going to.
You understand? He says Layla is his wife. So she says that fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. So when you stand, you see there's whole ocean of fear. But when you jump and try to figure out that what worse is it gonna happen, it's an inch deep. You can stay in the ocean, you can run, you can walk past fear to the other side. Very well said.
Step into and drown. But as soon as you step into it, you realize it was not that deep at all, and you can keep walking through it. And I just love that visual because a lot of times when it's like we have this anxiety around this big decision we have to make, if you actually take the step and realize that it's not death, you're not going to drown immediately. There's plenty of other steps you can take from there, even if you get a little wet.
Did I tell you my story about a friend who went through a cancellation?
So now the podcast kind of develops from here and into a story, and it's 3 hours long. I know I have seen this like 3 to 4 to 5 times. I still learn a lot of things watching this. So if this interests you, you can go and have a look at the whole podcast. But for now, this is the lesson I am taking home, saying, predict the worst. Predict the worst. What worse can happen? And when you kind of replay the fear, you will understand that it's not that worse. And this will motivate you to move forward. Thank you so much for being on this session. We'll see you on the next one. Boom, guys.